President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi participating in the activities of this important summit, the second edition of the Russian-African Summit. Always an honor and pleasure to have with us His Excellency, Mr. Sherif Fakhry, member of the Egyptian Council for Foreign Affairs and the renowned strategic expert. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Fakhry. And we were saying more about the timing itself of this important edition.
Yes.
As we know that there has been, the first edition was in Sochi back in 2019, in October 2019, under Egypt's presidency of the African Union then. So
yes, that time.
We're reaping the fruit also of working together hand in hand with Russia.
Yes. And first of all, we have a strategic relationship and historical relationship with Russia. And honestly, Egyptian people, I feel that they trust Russian stuff. And maybe you can see in agriculture so many, Russian equipment working for maybe more than 50 years now.
Yeah.
In every home in Egypt, there is some appliances from Russia. Maybe it is not that luxury that like today, but at least you know that it's durable, and it works for many years. So this historical relationship with Russia, I think is a big factor for such relationships. This is number one. Number two, also, President Fattah al-Sisi, honestly, he have a nice and good stand between the two superpowers now, because again, I think we are back. So he maintained a good relationship with Russia, and as you can see, Daba nuclear reactor, it's by Russian government. So his visits to Russia also get
very high momentum.
Yes, and fruitful for Egyptian people.
Yes.
So this is the second thing, that we have, a very balanced, foreign policy between Russia and US and Europe. You cannot ignore them also on the other side.
Yes.
And the third thing, really, we have a dramatic change worldwide. So I think now the main concern is, the food safety, especially after Russia stopped, their supply from Black Sea. So everybody was in a terrible situation, especially, they called it Sub-Saharan Africa, which was countries which below, the border of poverty, and, this is very difficult for them. So you can see that the attendance is like 49 countries out of 54 countries from Africa attended this, 17 of them on a presidential level.
Yeah.
So that gives an impression how important Egypt to Russia, how important the participation. So I think in this stage we need such conference, and I think Egypt will get the fruit out of this conference.
Yes, definitely talking about the fruits, there are a lot, seeing eye to eye vis-a-vis the different challenges as the whole geopolitical situation has changed.
Yes.
And Africa became, of course, one of the main priorities of the Russian policy today.
For sure. Up till now, the trading between Africa and Russia is around $20 billion, which is beyond their expectations. They expect that this to increase this up to $100 billion. But the point, it's not a balanced relationship. It's all African countries import from Russia, but vice versa, it never happened. Or it happened in a level which is very weak. It's not that level which we expect. So I think now it should have a balanced relationship between Russia and African countries. Egypt can play an important role. And also, honestly, I'm so proud. As you know, I was a member of parliament in the last term.
Yeah.
This term, we are discussing the logistics, route, which is very important. We have now 5 logistics routes, which was discussed by the parliament a few days back, and this financed by European Bank, and Russian people now talking about the same. We need the logistics coming from Egypt, from industrial areas to the ports.
Yeah.
So even our internal plans here is linked and integrated with our foreign policy, which is great. This is, by the way, this is the first time to have this. Always, we are like living in islands. Nobody knows what others do. But now we have a master plan, we have a national agenda, so we know that we are doing these logistics tunnels and these logistics routes because we would like to be the main supplier, the main gate for Africa. And we can also be the gate. If you remember, we have long time back a railway, coming from Cape Town to Cairo. And there's a movie, I think, old movie about this, from Cape to Cairo.
Yes.
So you can imagine from Cape Town to Cairo, we have a one railway. Egypt working on this also. So Egypt, for sure, is a perfect partner for Africa to be the main supplier for Russia.
Yeah, definitely. A golden opportunity where we find St. Petersburg hosting the second Russia-African Summit, the Russia-Africa Economic and Humanitarian Forum. And this is also very important because we're talking economy, we're talking Russia's support to Africa. What would be the fruits?
You know, and first of all, let's see what we are looking for from Russia. And first of all, we cannot ignore that Russia is a huge country. I don't know if you know, if you have been to Russia before. I went to Russia. It's a very huge. So Russia, to maintain the food safety for the Russian country, this is very important, especially after whatever sanctions they have. This is something not a normal country can afford to exist. Yeah. Russia have unbelievable, you know, experience in oil and gas. So we cannot ignore the energy file also. Energy file is something very important.
Of course.
And technology also. I cannot say that Russian technology is top of the list, but at least it can do something, especially we are more familiar with the Russian stuff, as I told you. So I think this will reduce, you know, the ratios of poverty, it will create new jobs for people. So it's not a matter of just humanitarian. Instead of we are looking for somebody to help us, no, we need somebody to find, you know, a good business opportunity for him. Yeah. We need some people to have a small business which can import and export stuff from Russia. We need training, as you know. People can get their good training, especially vocational training in Russia, and coming back
and IT
with the knowledge
in
IT and
technology transfer, of course.
I think we can. This transfer of knowledge, the main impact for this transfer of knowledge is creating more jobs for people. Yeah. So we can create more jobs for people, for Egypt and for Africa. And I know I visited like 23 countries in Africa. I can tell you very clear that Africa in a bad need for the basic needs of life. You know, basic needs of life is not available there. Before, you remember, we have a few companies working for the government. We have like branches in like 36 countries in Africa. Egypt now, it will be very difficult to do this role again, supporting Africa. But at least we can be a bridge between Russia and Africa, which is a great role, by the way.
Yes, definitely we're looking forward to enhance this sense of cooperation. We're talking about Africa becoming one of the leaders of the emerging markets, the emerging polar world today. Russia is very much interested in Africa. Those important meetings are also very important meetings because the leaders would see eye to eye on regional and international situation. We can see here the very warm and friendly meeting between President Sisi and President Putin. The charisma between both leaders, the warm welcome. This has been, you know, since they first met.
This is a matter of, you know, chemistry. Yes. You remember first visit for the president to Russia, they give him a nice, you know, jacket for which is just assembled for the. And I think a few days back we can see Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan when he's in, you know, at discussions with President Putin about investment, and they said, why don't we get Egypt to be our shared partner in this, which is great. And you know, now UAE invited Egypt. And President Putin, he replied immediately. He said, I will talk to the President Sisi about that. So we can be like this. This is very important. And I think up till now, Russia maybe signed around 11 agreements with different African countries. None of them come to their expectations. None of them coming to be, you know, real. It's
materializing.
Yes, nothing. So I think Egypt are capable to make this agreement true, because honestly, logistics is everything.
Yes, definitely. In the world today, the future is AI and IT transfer.
Unfortunately, Egypt, when they built their infrastructure now, even some people at that time blaming us, why are you doing all of this infrastructure? This infrastructure is very important, not only for people, for individuals. It's very important for logistics, for goods, to be close to the industrial areas. This is very important. So to have a speed train, to have, you know, a cargo trains, to have, you know, dry ports. This was also a great idea. So all of this, which we spend a lot for this infrastructure, you can start getting your fruits from out of this by being a gate for African countries to Russia.
Yes,
And vice
definitely.
versa.
Innovation as well can bring positive change to Africa, and the world innovation is always co-relevant also with IT and
For
information technology, leading to the growth in Africa.
Yes.
How are we working on that, especially that we have the investment in the youth who are always co-relevant to innovation?
I will tell you something, in my personal experience. I'm an advisor for one of the multinational IT firms. And we have a plan to get people from, government universities in Egypt, and we start put them in a good environment and get some solutions out of them. And their solutions, up to now, when they get it, we give them a bridge to sell these solutions to multinational companies, which is, up till now, you cannot imagine, we reach around $1.8 billion out of these small ideas coming from normal people in Egypt going this. I think Egyptian people are talented in innovation, based on the right environment, which is here. If they have the right environment, definitely they will have new ideas. So I think if you have now somebody, just a random guy, who's just a young guy, having a good idea to make people's life more easy and more nice and more, efficient for, blockchain or some of these things which we're talking about. I think Egypt can play also a prominent role in this, in training. And Egypt in technology, we are doing well.
Yes, definitely. We have a very good infrastructure concerning IT.
People, maybe people. This is the main investment. Infrastructure, anybody can do infrastructure, but people, it's very, very important to invest in people. I think this is what we are doing.
Yes, and this is the capacity building, the human building that the president had.
Because this is, you give them a new life. And you can imagine, we have a great success stories for some of those people coming from university. It's not by the way, maybe some of those people, their English is not that much, but we give them just a few courses in English just to improve his English. But once he starts on the track, you cannot imagine what results we can have from such genius people. By the way, they are genius.
Yes, geniuses create genius opportunities as well. And if we're talking about the bridge of communication, we're talking infrastructure, economy, IT, plus as well soft power and culture, which have a very important role. Though Russia is far away, but it is close.
It's not that Russia, they are practical people. Sometimes they don't think about things which we think. I lived in Canada for some time and in Europe for some time. So people in Canada or North America or Europe, we have a different style. We care about soft life. But in Russia, life is very hard. Weather makes them very hard working. So they don't care about luxury. And if you can comparison a Russian car with other European car, German car, or American car, you will find the Russian car is less luxury, but it's more durable.
Yeah, we're talking also tourism, how to attract more Russian tourists.
You can imagine, and I think Egypt, for Russian people, is the main destination.
Yes.
Because, when it's freezing cold in Russia, -40, it is 22 in Sharm el-Sheikh or Hurghada.
Yes.
And, honestly, we try to facilitate the tourism between Egypt and Russia, whatever we can. And Russia was a permanent, tourists for Egyptian resort the whole year almost.
Yes, especially for Hurghada and Sharm el-Sheikh.
I think for them it's cheap destination, it's nice destinations, they feel homes, they feel safe.
Sunny.
To have a sun in a country, nobody knows the value of the sun unless you lived in a country which is you don't have sun.
Right, exactly.
No sun, you feel depressed.
Renewed interest in redefining this sense of relations with Africa, Russia and Africa. What are we expecting? We're expecting a lot out of the second Russia-Africa summit.
I will be honest with this. Before Egypt leading Africa, I think this will be very difficult to do it the same way which you are doing in early 60s. Because now African peoples are very sensitive. They don't want to be led by other people. They want you to be a business partner with them. So I think you have to start helping African countries, supporting African countries. And as you know, there is a fund in Egyptian Foreign Affairs Ministry to help African countries.
Yes.
So you have to start building African institution, African infrastructure, African brains. You remember maybe in every African country we have an irrigation expert to help them in this. And we have honestly a wise, policy in this regard. So I think first of all you have to start with the African-African relationship. This is a good start. So when you start with the African countries relationship, and then you move to Russia, no one can compete with you, because honestly, what we have historically with Russia and the main infrastructure which we have, ports, airports, roads, everything we have, they don't have it in Africa. So at least we have to upgrade them a little.
Yeah.
And Egypt then can play the prominent role to be, you will be the leader. It doesn't matter. You should, be a leader on the table, but you will be a main partner for them. Everybody will come to you. They will try to ask you for help. They will ask you for your knowledge. And Egypt have a history with Africans.
Yes, we're always talking about unlocking opportunities, especially when it comes to Africa. We haven't yet unleashed all the African potential. Right? Isn't it? Yeah.
Honestly, 100% you're right. I think I called it, there is an African code. By the way, today I was attending something regarding, African Businessmen Association, which is nice that people talk business to business, B2B. It's not a government to government, it's business to business. And then those business to business people, when they identify the issues, we raise it to the government and it can resolve it on a presidential level. This is a code. But there is a code for Africa. If you don't go from the right way, the proper place, for sure you will find everything is locked. So exactly as you said, there is unleashed opportunities, which you can hit for sure. But this is one of the main things. You have to know the code. This is like you're trying to open, a safe without having a code. It will never open for you.
Let's open new opportunities and new horizons of cooperation with Africa. A very important summit that comes actually unlocking those opportunities and also knocking new doors. Mr. Sherif Fakhry, a member of the Egyptian Council for Foreign Affairs, our renowned strategic expert and former parliamentarian. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank you.
And I thank you, dear viewers, for joining us. That was the Daily Debate Live Wednesday with Fakhry Hussein. Tomorrow, another team. Until then.